This week's species is an acrobatic king with a spear for a nose. The sailfish for any offshore fisherman is quite a prize, so make sure you stay tuned.
Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Good to see everyone back in the studio, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone. Rick, look at everyone who's here to celebrate Sailfish tonight.
I love that they all showed up for the big sailfish, the Batman of the sea.
The Batman. All right, well, Dave's out tonight, but we have some members of your C1 team filling in. That would be Costa One, Contender One, right?
Contender and Costa.
Look at all those happy faces.
Look,
wave hi, guys.
How about that? We got
they're so
Billy
sweet.
and Cooper, Captain Q, Amanda, Joe Niebuhr, the boss, and Ivan,
And
the
the big
man
boss
who
is
keeps
in the
it all
back.
together.
All right, Rick. Well, starting our Sailfish Extravaganza tonight is the Casa Vieja Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. We have our first audience of the season, and the C1 team is here, so no pressure, Jimbo, I'm just saying.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to, did Ivan ride his scooter over there, or did he walk?
No, Ivan crutched right on in.
Okay, well, good. All right, well, we do have some of the best sail fishing in the world right here in the Southeast region. And unlike some of the exotic locations where the fish are 20 to 50 miles offshore, we're only fishing 2 to 3 miles offshore. Now, we do catch sailfish throughout the year, but December through May are peak months. Now, finding blue water and north current, those are key factors when we're looking for sails. We like to network with other fishermen up and down the coast to find where the best water conditions and current conditions can be found. Now, the most effective way to target sails is with live herrings, goggle-eyes, sardines, or pilchards fished under a kite in 80 to 250 feet of water. And if there isn't enough wind for the kite, you can slow troll or drift those live baits. That'll also get some bites. Now, 20-pound tackle with 10 to 15 feet of 40 to 60-pound monofilament or fluorocarbon leader and a 6.0 to 7.0 circle hook, that's our standard sailfish setup. Now, lately, sailfish bite has been spectacular on the days when the current is enclosed with lots of double-digit catches and releases. And then on the days when there's no current or slow current, the bite has just been fair in that 100 to 200-foot range. I got a photo here, and this is just one of the many sailfish that we have tagged and released in the past few weeks. Now, along with those sailfish, there's been lots of big kingfish. They've been biting throughout the region. In the Miami area where I fish, we've been catching kings in the 15 to 40-pound range in 100 to 240 feet of water on live herrings and pilchards, fish under the kites and on the flat line. Now, we have caught a few of them out that 240-foot range. Bulk of them have been in shallower, bigger 100 to 150 feet, but there are some still venturing out deeper. Now, on both the kite and the flat line, we've been adding an 18-inch piece of number 4 or number 5 wire leader to prevent any cutoffs. And on the kite baits, we like to use circle hooks, but on the flat lines and deep lines, we've been using number 2 kingfish treble hooks. Now, a big live speedo or blue runner double hooked with those number 2 trebles, that's been getting most of those larger fish. And the fish have been biting throughout the day, but if you can get out early in the morning or fish late into the afternoon, that's when you're going to have a best shot at one of these large smoker kings. And I got a photo here. This is Christian Segrin, my brother Rick holding the fish, Logan Lopez, and Bryce Palmer, and this is one of those many big kings that we've caught in the past week.
That's great getting those kids out, Jimbo. Let's go ahead and go inshore, bud.
You got it. Now, inshore, our tarpon report's pretty much a repeat of the last 3 weeks. We have tarpon around the bridges and dock lights at night and also in and around the inlets. Around the bridges, look for the tarpon feeding around the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. And if you can find a color change or rip, that is where those tarpon are most likely going to be feeding, and that's where you want to drift your live crabs or live baits through. Around the inlets and off the beaches, live crabs and live shrimp have been the best baits. If the water's real clear, you might want to scale down with lighter leaders and smaller hooks. Now, all of the fishing around the bridges and inlets, that's all taking place in the evenings. But during the daytime, some of these same fish can be caught in and around some of the deeper holes in the bays and in the intercoastal waterway, and they're eating live crabs and live baits, as well as swimming plugs and even flies. Now, moving really inshore on the freshwater side, the peacock bass fishing has been excellent in the urban canal and lake system in the south part of the region. Look for the peacocks in areas with clear water and current, and some of the hottest action can be had right after an afternoon thunder shower. Work 1/4 to 1/2 ounce jigs or DOA terrorized, small Rapala husky jerks or shad wraps in gold or chartreuse, or live shiners and minnows around the canal drop-offs, bridges, and the drainage pipes. With the artificial baits, the fast retrieve, that's going to get you the most bites. So if you think you're working it fast, work it a little faster. And then for those peacocks, there's no need to get an early start because these peacocks like to bite best in the middle of the day. And the peacocks have been in the 3 to 5 pound range, and there's also been some largemouth bass and snook mixed in. Real quick, I want to talk about the Yamaha Contender Miami Sport Fishing Tournament taking place this Saturday at a Miami Beach Marina. A lot of money. You can win $30,000 first place. Dolphin, kingfish, wahoo, tuna, mutton snapper, and cobia are all eligible fish. If you're not fishing, it's a great time to get down there and just check out the weigh-in and all the festivities. It's a great time, can be had by all.
All right, thanks, Jimbo. Here are the hot spots for the Southeast region, brought to you by Center State Bank of South Florida. Captain Jimbo says inshore big tarpon are eating live crabs and shrimp drifted through the inlets in the evening. And then offshore, fishing live baits in 100 to 200 feet of water has been producing a mixed bag of sailfish, kingfish, mahi, blackfin tunas throughout the entire region. Bree?
Okay, let's run on down to the Keys where sailfish is king, but you gotta do some work. No worries though, Captain Randy Tao is on the line with your weekend cheat sheet.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, sail fishing in my region, the Islamorada Upper Keys area, slowing down a little bit, but that's mainly due to the conditions. This time of year, we're going to find more of sailfish out in the deeper water free jumping or on a color change where we'll get the Gulf Stream water to move in, and it can be in 200 to 300 feet of water. It can be a powder blue edge, and these fish are tailing along that color change, and you can have some big days on sail fishing. So the sail fishing isn't over, although the best sail fishing around here starts in November and runs through about now. But like I said, the conditions are really key. That northeast wind, that'll help. And unlike some of the other places, we have a lot of sailfish in shallow water where guys will run the edge of the reef and they'll look in 40 feet of water along the white sand just inside the reef, and they'll find these sailfish swimming and actually get up alongside of them and cast to them in the shallow water. And these fish are in there looking for ballyhoos and bait. And a lot of times you'll find them that way as well. But you're going to need a tuna tower on your boat to look down into the water and find these fish. I was talking to Captain Eddie Yannetti at freelancecaptain.com. He's a local captain here fishing on the Early Bird charter boat. They had 2 half days. The other day they caught 4 sailfish each day flying their kites off of Davis Reef. They had goggle eyes in the kite. It was a pretty windy week, and that's ideal for kite fishing. And also Captain Steve Leopold on the Yabba Dabba Doo, also out of Holiday Isles Marina. He had some good catches of sailfish as well, and that's what these guys are flying the kites when it's windy. They're slow trolling live ballyhoos when it's calm, and that's how it works around here. The dolphin fishing right now, we've got kind of an early good bite of dolphin. 500 feet of water is where a lot of the guys are starting. They're finding birds, and these birds are putting them on some nice fish. Some slammers, those are fish over 20 pounds. I've heard of fish up to 40 pounds, and quite a few nice ones. We don't really get the small little peanut dolphin right now. They're all good size. They're gaffers, which are probably a 10-pound fish, and some of the schoolies are just under that. But quite a few of them. If you find a set of birds, you're going to find a pack of dolphin. And I like to troll 2 ballyhoos on a conventional 30-pound outfit and look for the birds and then get lined up with them and make sure I've got my spinning rods ready to go and cast at these fish once I find them. I was talking to the master dolphin fisherman, Captain Brian Cohn, on the charter boat Contagious. He does this on a regular basis, extremely good at it. He sent me a photo of young Parker Bell with a nice mahi they caught a couple days ago.
All right, let's go inshore there, Randy.
Bone fishing. You know, I don't talk a lot about bonefish. We kind of have a problem with each other, and you know, it's a love-hate relationship. Sometimes these things cooperate, sometimes they don't. I can tell you the most consistent thing about bone fishing is how inconsistent it is every time you go. They're here today, gone tomorrow. That doesn't mean you can't catch one. It just means if it's your turn, it's going to be your turn. Now, we've got bone fishing from Key Largo to Key West, and the tides and conditions are really critical to finding these fish. They're territorial. They're going to cross a certain spot at a certain time, and that's what makes a lot of the Keys guides really good at what they do, because they know when that's going to happen. And these guys are on them. A live shrimp or a small blue crab's going to get the job done for you on a light to medium spinning rod. You want a reel that holds some line, because these fish will peel off 100 yards or two of line once you hook them. Now, I've got a photo of Al Restoria was fishing with Richard Stanzik a couple of nights ago. Richard owns Bud Mary's Marina, a very, very avid bone fisherman, passionate about the fishing around here. We're not sure how big this bonefish was. They took a quick picture and released the fish, but Richard was thinking somewhere around 15 pounds.
It looks like it, Randy. Okay, you're going to have to hurry on the tarpon, Papa.
You know, the tarpon, they're biting, they're here. They've gotten a little finicky with the weather. We've had a lot of wind, especially out of the north. The backcountry has slowed down a little bit, but they're on the ocean, and as you know, around the bridges right now, they're stacked up pretty good, and they're close to the pilings. So you want to drift your crabs around. Live mullet's still working good. I had a report from Captain Rick Kilgore. He's a tarpon guide out of Islamorada. He likes to do it in the dark. He catches a lot of fish around the bridges at night, and he's been telling me he's catching 2 or 3 a night, sometimes having up to 8 or 10 on, but that night fishing makes it a little tough. He's catching them on live crabs and live mullet and pilchards when he can get them.
All right, thanks, Randy. Here are the king sailfish hotspots from the Florida Keys, and Captain Randy says this weekend we should go offshore dolphin fishing. Start looking for the birds in 500 feet, troll and run south till you see something fishy. Start fishing and have your spinning rod rigged and ready. And then offshore tarpon fish near the bridges this week. A lot of the fish have been showing up and are holding around the bridge pylons. Try casting a small blue crab up current and then let that crab swim past your boat.
You and me going fishing in the dark.
Sing it for me.
You don't even know that song. Let's check out some of the tournaments going on in the Florida Keys right now. All right, this weekend's Islamorada Spring Classic is a family-formatted tournament featuring 9 golf and backcountry species. Trophies are offered to top boats in weight and release categories, as well as private vessel and charter divisions. The Marathon Offshore Bull and Cow Dolphin Tournament, set for April 29th through May 1st in the Middle Florida Keys, will offer some $30,000 in prizes. The Tarponian Tournament, set for May 1st through the 4th in Marathon, features a 3-evening tournament mandating that teams fish with a different captain each night. Teams also rotate among 3 major bridge channels in Marathon, so potential hotspots are shared among all contestants. The Nick Sheehan Dolphin Rodeo honors the late Florida Keys student with funds benefiting a community scholarship fund. There are cash prizes and $25,000 for the angler who catches a dolphin that beats the Florida record. What do you say we introduce Mr. Andy Newman with another tournament in the Florida Keys?
Well, hi guys. It's one of the richest dolphin tournaments in the state, and it stretches from Key Largo to Key West. We're talking about the Florida Keys Dolphin Championship, May 13th to the 15th. The contest features more than $100,000 in cash and prizes, and you can enter and weigh in at 5 different tournament centers throughout the Keys. The angler catching the largest dolphin, weighing over 55 pounds, will win $50,000 toward the order of a new offshore series Sea Hunter boat. More details at FloridaKeysDolphinChampionship.com, and more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys at FLAKeys.com. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Andy. That's a nice new picture we got. All right, stick with us, anglers. Coming up, we're headed to the East region, and then we're going off the deep end with our special guest in the studio. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Hey, who are those cuties on the bus?
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Humminbird, simply, clearly better. Decks and Docks Lumber Company, Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
Thanks for coming today. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from. You all chose the best tool for the job. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
Yep. This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado.
Nice.
A good-looking pickup.
Incredible.
I love it.
Find your tag and get a total value of $9,000 on this Silverado Double Cab All-Star. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Yamaha's next-generation V6 4-strokes are changing the game.
Mid-range power was awesome.
Fuel, the burn, it's unbelievable.
Couldn't believe the speed and the fuel economy is pretty impressive.
I mean, I couldn't believe the power. It was like it was more like doing a quarter mile on a drag strip.
And them things are like, it's a whole nother game.
So I made the switch.
Experience the difference for yourself during the Yamaha Discover V6 Offshore Demo Tour. See why we call it the Game Changer.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
Now it's time for the FWC News and Notes. April 29th is the Youth Hunt in Okeechobee County, and May 21st there is a kids fishing clinic in Fernandina. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now it's time to go off the deep end.
Hummingbirds off the deep end here at the CCA workbench. I've got my guys from the C1 fishing team, Captain Q, Billy, and Johnny Cooper. You know, Q, what is it that you look for in really good baits?
Actually, Rick, you want that bait to look like it did when you caught it, when you put it out. You want a bait that's like jumping out of your hands, that's shooting a rooster tail across the surface. You know, if that bait is lazy, it's not going to pull a fish up from 20 to 30 feet down. You need a bait that's jumping, skipping, fighting, digging constantly. That's what will make a sailfish 20 to 30 feet down come up to bite the bait.
Okay, now we're talking about sailfish baits. What kind of baits are you referring to, Q?
Well, a lot of times we use goggle eyes on the windier days. We use thread fins, we use sardines, we use pilchards. That's like our primary baits.
All right, so we hear the term seasoning baits all the time, and we've got some video here. Why don't you tell me about what this is?
Well, when you season a bait, you need the bait to be ready to go wherever you're going. And if I take a bait and I catch it today, and I try to transfer it, say, to Key West or Islamorada to fish a tournament, that bait's not going to survive. It's weak, it hasn't eaten. So when we season a bait, we'll catch them, depending on how far the tournament is away, by putting them in a pen that's got plenty of room, by feeding them krill, by feeding them pellets, by just basically nurturing your bait back to where it was health-wise when you caught it.
Now, is there anything that you practice, Q, when it comes to dipping baits?
When you always want to dip one at a time, because when you mix the baits in a net, they're bumping into each other, knocking scales off. You basically try to use one or dip one at a time into the well, one at a time back into the pen. Okay, you don't want to like do 2 and 3 at a time unless you're just practicing and it's really not that important. A lot of times, if you're just going out for a practice day, you'll throw 2 or 3 in the pen, in the net, into the well, and it doesn't really affect them that bad.
Has some great stuff on baits. Now, Johnny, you know, you and Billy are two of the mates. One guy works on one side, the other guy works on the other. And I want to tell you, bridling the baits or rigging the baits, how is it that we do that? What do we typically do?
Well, I think a lot of guys still just simply hook the bait in the back with a hook. We elect to bridle them, which you take a needle with a rubber band on the end. The rubber band is attached to the hook. You penetrate through the bait fish. There's kind of a sweet spot. You don't want to go too deep and jeopardize hitting the spine and killing the bait. But on the other hand, you don't want to go too shallow where you don't have a big enough bite with the rubber band where under pressure when the fish grabs it, it'll simply just break and get picked off. So basically the hook is just kind of riding on the back of the bait. And what that does is it gives, well, it doesn't totally eliminate, but it certainly reduces the odds of the hook turning back in the bait, which we've all had that happen. It's very disappointing. But more importantly, it increases, it gives the hook the flexibility to rotate around when the fish bites and you start to feel that pressure. It gives that hook the flexibility to rotate around and do its job because it's a circle hook. It needs to find that spot.
Now we have different size baits. We have a goggle eye, which has a tendency to be thick. Then we have thread fins, and then we have sardines that have a tendency to be much thinner. What size hooks are we going to be using on the different kite baits?
It's usually somewhere between 5, 6, and 7s, depending on the bait. And we'll usually put the bigger baits on the long because the weight helps to keep it down. And it's like Q says, if we have the luxury of having those 3 different species of baits, we'll put all 3 out on one side. And hopefully after 3 or 4 fish, maybe you'll start to see a pattern. You'll crack the code of what they prefer that given day. Most of the time, the bites are distributed pretty evenly through the species of baits, but every once in a while you'll see a preference, and then you'll key on it. You may mix it up a little bit.
Now on the C1 fishing team, we rigged the boat with certainly 10 spinning rods. This is the Azor 80, loaded up with 20 Suffolks. We're certainly using the 15-foot leader, a heavy to medium size rod action, and then our conventional was the Andros. This holds actually 750 yards of 20 high-vis Suffolk Superior. And then certainly that would be the cork so we can measure. One last thing, Q, how high do we want that cork and why is it important to make sure we have a limited amount of leader in the water?
Well, first off, you're trying to eliminate the fish seeing any leader. So on a calmer day, the best luck you're going to have is having that bait right on the surface, where basically almost the hook and the leader is in the air. And that way the bait is fighting harder. On a rougher day, say an east wind is 8 or 10 foot, I try to keep the bait a little bit lower because it's harder for a fish to see the bait that's right on the surface splashing when they're coming up, you know?
Thank you for taking such a great amount of time out of your deal. Billy, thank you for being here. We couldn't do it without these guys, but you know what else I couldn't do is without you, Bree, so go ahead and take it away.
That was actually really sweet. Weird, feels weird. Okay, remember guys, fishing never stops in Florida, so if you have pictures you would like to share with us, we want you to post them on our Instagram or Facebook using the hashtag CFIFR. All right, let's give a warm welcome to Captain Mike Holliday in the Decks and Docks region, where finding the fish is as simple as finding the bait. Right, Mike?
That's really the key right now. You know, we're on the back end of our sailfish season where the main body of fish have already migrated through. So that being said, there's still some sails to be found, particularly off Palm Beach County, but then also around the deeper wrecks that are holding bait, like the Rankin, the Wickstrom, the Mullifin, the Ernst Reef. You know, and as we slide more into the summer sailfish pattern, what we see more of is groups of 2 to 5 fish that hold wherever the sardines and thread fins are concentrated. And there's also a good number of floaters and floppers, you know, sails that are either basking on the surface or free jumping. If you see either of those, you want to run right to that spot and put out baits because you know there's sailfish in that area. For baits, pretty hard to beat a live thread fin, a goggle eye, a pilchard, or a sardine. But you'll also do well trolling rig ballyhoo either naked or with a blue and white skirt on a 50-pound fluorocarbon leader. Average sailfish in my region is going to be 30 to 40 pounds. The other thing we got going, the springtime dolphin run is in full swing with not only big fish in the mix, but good numbers of above average size fish. High winds early in the week really stacked up the weeds and debris and pushed a lot of fish over from the western side of the Gulf Stream. So, you know, with a full moon this weekend, we should see some of the best dolphin bites of the year. So plan for a great week of blue water fishing. The key is to find the right conditions and stick to those areas. Lots of flying fish, bait fish, and weeds or color changes are where the dolphin are going to track, and that's where they're also going to feed. Your best bet's going to be to put out bird teasers and troll ballyhoo to cover a lot of water, or just troll feather strips. Live bait fishing down the ledge in Palm Beach County is also producing a very steady dolphin bite right now. Be sure to have a rod rigged with a whole ballyhoo or a flying fish to pitch to any big dolphin that you see just free swimming outside of your bait spread. Average dolphin in my region, 12 to 25 pounds. Fish over 40 pounds in the mix right now. I got a photo there. That's Don Maltby, and he caught that big dolphin on the Juneau Ledge. He was fishing with Captain Eric Gates, and that fish ate a live goggle eye. So we should see really good dolphin fishing this weekend, Bree.
All right, let's go inshore, Mike.
Well, the yellow butterflies are hatching on Indian River Drive, and that means the spring snook bite's on, particularly in Fort Pierce and Jupiter. That's where the big fish are on the bridges, and there's a great dawn and dusk topwater plug bite on the seawalls. In Stewart, where the seagrass is all dead, the fish are now concentrated on the shorelines and on the docks of the St. Lucie River and the southern Indian River. And there's also a good number of fish in all the inlets right now, with the larger fish out in deeper water and smaller fish in tight on the shoreline. And there's also a lot of 8 to 12-inch mullet in the rivers right now. So places like the Ermine River and the Sailfish Point Flats, those are great spots to free line a live mullet for a big fish. You can also do well pitching live mullet up against the seawalls from Flagler Avenue down in Palm Beach all the way up to Hope Sound. Flare hawks are working on the bridges at night, and then like a 4-inch bass assassin, electric chicken colored 4-inch shad. Those are working on the shoreline around the docks and around the inlets. Average snook 24 to 30 inches. I got a photo just to show you sort of the average fish. Greg Poirier, he caught that fish on a live pilchard. He was fishing with Captain Ken Hudson, and Ken wrecked the snook this week, fishing in the St. Lucie River and also down in Hope Sound. The other thing we got going, the April full moon, we get a spring flounder run in the Indian and St. Lucie Rivers, basically from Stewart all the way up to Fort Pierce. And, this year with a freshwater runoff that's pushed just a lot of the flounder out of the St. Lucie River and into the Indian River. And what that means is places like the Jensen Beach Causeway Pier, around the outflow pipes near Nettles Island, the South Bridge Catwalk and the Little Jim Bridge in Fort Pierce, and the Spur Jetty in Fort Pierce are all going to have flounder on them right now with this full moon. To effectively catch them, you have to target them, and you do that by getting your lure or your bait right on the bottom. You do that by taking like a large live shrimp, a finger mullet, or a killifish, put them on a 3/8 ounce jig head or a 3/8 ounce rubber core sinker and drag them on the bottom. You can also swim a all-white bass assassin curly tail grub right along the bottom. Keep in mind, flounder like to lie in sand next to pilings, often in really shallow water. So don't always work yourself out, work your way out deep. Start at the beginning of the dock or the catwalks and work your way out. Most of the spring flounder are 1 to 2 pounds with fish up to 8 pounds this week.
Mike, we love to go bass fishing this time of year. They really bite well. What do you got for a report?
Well, this was a wetter winter than normal, but the bass are still concentrated in the canals at Holiday Park and the Everglades Conservation Area 3. And, this is just the time of the year when those flats dry up and all the fish get pushed into the canals and around the culverts and bridges. And you can just catch crazy numbers of mostly small fish in that 1 to 2 pound range. And, there's still some water out there now, though. So the flats are holding some water. There's also some big fish coming out of those flats and around the little ponds that are bordering the canals. Those fish are coming on topwater plugs or dark-colored frogs. And if numbers are your game, fish a shoreline vegetation with swim baits, watermelon, grape, colored paddle-tail worms, or rig a bass assassin trick worm, Senko style, and throw it up on the sawgrass. The number of bites you get, this is also a great place to take someone who's just learning to fly fish and let them throw small popping bugs. Find the moving water, you'll find the spot that you can get your fish on just about every cast. Average bass in that sawgrass recreation area is going to be 1 to 3 pounds, but if you fish those lily pad fields out on the flats, you can catch fish up to 6 pounds right now.
All right, great report, Mike. Thanks. A good report from the Decks and Docks region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Mike says offshore full moon mutton bite is on the Loran Tower ledge. Sardines, cigar minnows on a 40-foot, 40-pound fluorocarbon leader. And then inshore triple tails on the channel markers and the signs from Jensen Causeway north to Fort Pierce, cast to the pylons with a live shrimp on a 1/4 ounce jig.
Hey, Bub, you know what time it is?
No, what time is it?
It's Ask Captain Rick a Question time. Oh, let's hear what question Lauren Wilmering from Naples has for you.
Let's hear it.
Hi, Captain Rick. Lauren Wilmering here in beautiful Naples, Florida. Over here on the southwest coast, I like to fish for large red grouper. So my question for you is your preference between a J-hook and a circle hook when fishing for larger grouper species?
Well, that's a great question, Bree. You know, the thing is that in a jig situation, most jigs don't come with a circle hook. The bad rap that circle hooks get is that when they're fishing them, Bree, a lot of times people want to set the hook. When you're fishing a circle hook, guys, make sure you just reel and let the fish hook himself. The whole idea is let it slide. Again, that's a great question. Thank you so much.
Let it slide.
Let it slide.
If you have a question for Captain Rick and would like to be featured on the show, send in a good quality horizontal video to our website, ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And remember, the question should be 30 seconds or less. Don't sail away, people, because coming up, we are checking in with the Central West and Panhandle regions. We'll be right back with more of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report and our happy audience members.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I think it's time to change my battery. Now you do it.
Get AC Delco batteries at Bennett Auto Supply. Plus, get $10 off your first online purchase when you register at BennettAuto.com.
Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, but not alone.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
As close as you're going to get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Casa Vieja Lodge.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, this whole cycle.
When it comes to sailfishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Welcome. We have 3 Chevys here. All right. I want you to place this award on the podium next to the vehicle that you think was ranked highest in initial quality by J.D. Power.
Can I look around at them? Sure.
Highest ranking in initial quality.
It's gotta be this one.
This is it.
You are wrong.
Really?
Actually, it's all 3.
You tricked me.
J.D. Power ranked the Chevy Malibu, Silverado Half-Ton, and Equinox highest in initial quality in their segments.
That's impressive.
I'm very surprised.
I'm very surprised. Chevy hit 3 home runs.
Okay, guys, we've been talking about our photo contest, and today is the day we have chosen our top 10, I can't count, 10 best catch photos you submitted. Go to our Facebook page and find out if you made it to the finals and one step closer to winning a charter with any one of our captains. But you gotta like us on Facebook first, and also don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Official Insider. And I guess Captain Rick Murphy.
You know what's good thing, you pretty.
What? No, I'm not. All right, now it's check-in time with none other than the Captain Jeff Page in the Startron Central West region, who's always rocking and ready to go with a weekend report that never disappoints. Let's hear it, Paige.
Speaking of rocking, you guys sound like you got a pretty good crowd there tonight.
We do.
I
They're excited.
I could hear them applauding. earlier.
Okay, go.
Anyway, you know what? We may not have the fishery they have on the East Coast, but make no mistake about it, we have sailfish in the Star-Tron Central West region, and the best time to catch them is right now through, say, late July. And a lot of times, Rick, they're going to be out there mixed in with the kingfish that are feeding on the big schools of thread fins. And it can be in as close as a mile. It can be out, 11, 10, 11 miles. The key is finding those big schools of bait, which haven't been hard to right now. There's lots of bait showing up in that 3 to 4 mile range on out. You can either slow troll lip plugs, you can fast troll lip plugs, or you can slow troll live thread fins or blue runners for your sailfish. A good way to get them, like I said, is that. And I have a photo tonight of Captain Billy Ahlstrom releasing a real nice sail he got last week.
All right, what else you got for me offshore, Paige?
Permits, lots of permits holding over the wrecks and reefs and to the south and north, and it's been in that 7 to 11 mile range, 40 to 60 feet of water. Live free line pass crabs have been the best bet. And Jason Stock says to have a live pinfish ready as well, because a lot of the wrecks and the reefs where the permits are holding, don't be surprised if a cobia comes up while you're fighting your permit. They're mixed in with them just as well. And I'm getting good reports off Stump Pass as well up to the north off Anna Maria Pass. And my photo tonight is from Captain Jason Stock with a real nice one he got last week.
All right, go inshore, Bub.
Inshore snook. Snook bite remains most consistent in my region, with good numbers of snook coming in off the grass flats, Spoil Islands, and the Terracea, Sarasota Bay area, and they're starting to already show up in the passes, even though our water temperature is still in the low 70s from Stump Pass south to Boca Grande, where the water is a little bit warmer. The key is having a live well full of live pilchards, which are still tough to come by, but the guys taking the time, Rick, to go out and cast net them have been rewarded with some really good days of snook fishing. As for lures that work well, Saltwater Assassin 4-inch sea shad and the Mama's 14 carat is tough to beat, rigged on an Assassin quarter-ounce Pro Elite jig head. You're going to want to cast it in and around the Spoil Islands and sandbars, holding mullet and bait, and try and bounce that jig off the bottom. Got a snook photo tonight of my good longtime friend, Mr. Dave Greenwood of Sarasota, Florida, with a nice snook he's got.
Whoa, that's a stud there, Paige. All right, what do you got also
Last species,
Yeah, give it to
the
me.
redfish. He's still not the April, May numbers we're used to seeing, but he's starting to show up to the south part of my region a lot better than the north. He's on the higher stages of the tide around the mangrove islands of Lemon Bay, as well as Bull Bay, Catfish Creek, and Turtle Bay. And the key has been letting that tide get up to where the fish can get up around the bushes, fish live free-line pilchards or cut chunks of ladyfish around the bushes on the higher stages of the tide. Redfish are averaging 22, 28 inches. Don't forget, CCA Star Tournament starts in a month.
All right, thank you so much, Captain Page. Great report from the Star-Tron Central West region. Inshore, kingfish, better kingfish action starting to get fired up as close as 3 to 7 miles. Troll lip plugs or slow troll thread fins over the hard bottom areas. And then inshore, speckled trout, big specks holding on the grass flats just inside a new pass in Sarasota Bay. Corked or pilchards on grunts over 3 to 5 foot deep grass flats are going to work for that breed.
Okay, filling in for our very own Patty Pence in the Panhandle region is Captain Chuck Kemper from Lucky Chucky Charters. Thanks for picking up the slack while Pat's playing hooky in Guatemala with Dave. Let's hear your report, Mr. Captain.
Well, hey guys, thank you for having me on. Tonight's fish, sailfish. A lot of times we're catching them here in late spring and fall. Most of the time we're finding them out towards that 100 fathoms line, mainly on that southwest edge towards the elbow, out towards the nipple. We do get a few guys here on the beach in kayaks catching them off the beach. Handful of guys caught them off the pier, but your best bet is to head out towards that 100 fathom ledge. Now, keep in mind, You always want to pay attention to that water temperature. The sailfish like that water around 75 to 80 degrees. Once you're out there, you're pulling this spread, putting out artificial baits, ballyhoo, dredges, teasers. Now, once you're putting these artificial lures out, you want to make sure you get them outside that prop wash, the white water. You want to have clean water. A lot of times we'll have sailfish come up on those teasers, so always have a backup ballyhoo being ready to pitch it back.
All right, you're doing great, Chuck. Tell me a little bit about the cobias.
Oh, yes. We got cobia fever here in the Panhandle. From Panama City all the way to Pensacola, everybody and their mothers out there running that second sandbar. We're looking for these big, dark brown shapes. Good indicators, look for turtles, rays. A lot of the local boys got some fads out there. Some of the shallow wrecks will hold cobia. Be ready. Watch them come across that second sandbar, having a good cobia jig. Be ready to make that long cast. Keep in mind, guys, you don't want to have everybody throwing at the same fish at one time. Get one cast. It's always good to have about 40, 50-pound braid leader, 40 to 60 pounds, getting that long cast and seeing if that'll work. Best bait, or for sure bait, once he's close enough, throwing a live eel. They cannot say no. Another good bait is pinfish, crabs. So that's usually the way we get them up here.
All right, so let's talk about inshore. Yeah, go ahead, Chuck.
Yes, sir. Inshore, redfish. Redfish up in Panama City has been really good. I heard a bunch of guys over in West Bay finding fish tailing. Most of them anywhere from the 16 to 24-inch fish. Throwing live shrimp, artificial. We're using soft plastics, Bass Assassin. Been working really good. Here in Chattahoochee Bay, all the bridges been holding some bull reds, getting live pinfish or live shrimp. Back into the sound, we're finding quite a few nice fish up underneath the docks. We're pitching live shrimp. Been working really good on that. And one of my favorite lures is the Bass Assassin chicken on the chain. That's been working really good underneath the underneath the popping cork. With these redfish, you want to give it a good pop, but not too loud. Moving into a photo here, we had a client last week, Kelly Fuller, caught these really nice bookends up underneath the dock.
Those are a couple great fish.
Yes, sir. They both were around 26, 26 and a half, caught here in the Santa Rosa Sound on live shrimp.
All right, tell me about the speckled trout, bub.
Speckled trout, they're all over the grass flats. They're moving out of these canals in the back of the bayous. So while you're out cruising around looking for the turtle grass, spotted little sand holes, these fish are laying in the holes or up in that grass. The popping cork with a DOA shrimp or Bass Assassin's been working really good. One of my favorite is the Mirrodine, just slow retrieve, and on that drop, little double twitch, and they pick them up right there. If the bite slows down, one of my favorite things is using a little scent, putting a little Procure on that Mirrodine or a spoon or even that soft plastic works like a champ. The popping cork's probably one of the simplest, easiest way to catch them.
Tell me about the photo here.
The photo here, that was last week. We caught a nice 6-pound trout caught on the Mirrodine, and that's why we love that bait so much. It is one of the best baits out there.
Well, we appreciate you filling in for Uncle Pat while he's gone. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore redfish, the grass flats around the Destin Coast Guard station is where you're going to find them. And then offshore cobia along the Panhandle beaches, particularly between Fort Walton Beach and Gulf Breeze. Make sure you have those live eels and jigs ready, Bree.
I liked Lucky Chucky.
You like him?
I did, but I missed
He's a cool cat.
He's pretty cool. All right, we like having y'all on board with us, so stay hooked for the Southwest region coming up, and then see what new products we've caught up with at the CCA Workbench when we come back. C1 team.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Center State Bank, we believe in community. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Shallow Wrap Shad's a jerkbait with a secret move. When you pause, the lure slowly rises. I tell you, man, it makes fish come unglued.
Fish Stock, the total saltwater experience, returns to New Smyrna Beach this Memorial Day weekend. Bring the whole gang to Riverside Park for an incredible family experience. Tournaments, boat shows, seminars, kids clinics, and the Fish Stock 5K Fun Run. Put your skills to the test in the Redfish Trout Challenge. And new this year, Boston Whaler and Marine Max offer $2,500 cash for the largest fish caught each day in the Offshore Striker Tournament. Don't miss out on the fun. Visit fishstock.com to register.
Well, we're over here at the CCA workbench, and I have a couple special guests this week. I have Amanda Sabin, Amanda Perryman, known to some of us before she got married. Amanda, you know, we're talking about Costa sunglasses, some of the things we use, the secrets offshore. Why don't we get right into it?
All right. Well, I think there's 2 main things that you want to think about when you're choosing a pair of fishing sunglasses, especially in the offshore market. Fit is one of the most important things. So when you're talking about fit, there's 3 things to consider: the height of the lens, the width of the lens, and then the length of the temple. When you're wearing a good pair that fits you really well, you really shouldn't feel them on your face.
I don't feel anything. Now, Amanda, sometimes they have like a little hole drilled here.
Absolutely.
Like we have here. What is that all about?
So here we have our patented venting system, so that allows airflow into the area in between the lens and your eyes, and it reduces fogging. Some other features that we have that are really important to notice are our Hydrolite co-molding that is a little bit of rubber around the nose and the ears, and that allows it to, when you start to sweat, it gets a little tacky. So if you bend over the gunnel, you're gaffing a fish, you're wiring a fish, they're not going to fall off your face.
So let me ask you something. You know, you see a lot of the guys on the dock walking up and down, and certainly some guys have mirrored lenses and some guys go without. Why is that?
A lot of it comes down to personal preference. It also has to do with conditions. So if you look, our blue mirror lens, for example, is our darkest lens. It has a gray base. The difference between a blue mirror lens and a gray is just that the blue is a shade darker. It's like pulling a shade over a window.
Oh. So it eliminates light not only coming in from the backside because it's a wraparound, but it also keeps light from going in from the front side.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
It's going to make it a little bit darker, which isn't always necessarily a good thing. If you're in an overcast condition, you may want to go with a lighter lens like one of our sunrise lenses, which allows a little bit more light in those overcast scenarios so you can see better.
Now, we have different color mirror, green versus blue. What's that about?
Green mirror has a copper base, so a green mirror is going to enhance colors a lot more and allow you to see contrasts in the water, where a gray is more like what your natural eye would see.
All right, so I heard a rumor. I need you to clarify this for me. what about biodegradables, what I've heard?
Yes, so at Costa, we recognized that there was a problem. A lot of ocean plastics and trash are ending up in our waters, and we looked at ourselves and we say, well, we're making plastic sunglasses. So we transitioned our line to a biodegradable plastic line. So they will biodegrade if they end up in the ocean or a landfill in 5 years.
Wow, that's pretty epic.
Heck yeah.
Well, I have my dear friend Joe Niebuhr, who has been our offshore boat sponsor on Sportsman's Adventures for 23 years, the president and owner of Contender Boats. Now, Joe, we do some special, really cool things on the C1 Contender 39. Why don't we get into, tell me a little bit about the 3 live wells that we have on the boat.
Well, we use 3 live wells in the boat because we like to segregate our baits, Rick. Just like Quentin was talking about how we take care of our baits and baby our baits, but the 3 live wells we use, we like to make sure that our baits are individually set. Some baits play well together, some baits don't. So we'll use the above deck wells for the more hardy baits, okay, the goggle eyes, the hardtails, and we use the big floor well, Rick, for the more sensitive baits. And that floor well is, you know, it's a big well.
Absolutely. So tell me about the pressurization in all 3 of the wells.
Okay, well, what we do is we have a series of valves that will allow us to regulate the flow in and out of the tanks as well as the water level. So we can actually create positive pressure inside those tanks. And what that does is, with a little bit of positive pressure, you'll fill that well all the way to the top. It keeps water from sloshing around. It keeps the bait from banging into the sides if you're running in big seas hard offshore. And it gives that bait that much more of a chance to be really natural when you take it out again.
Now, Joe, there's times where we have to transport a lot of baits. Like this past weekend, we took our baits from Miami all the way to Key West. Tell me about the big giant floor well in the 39 Contender.
Well, in the 39 Contender, you do have an option to do a 105-gallon floor well, and it's exclusive to that one boat. And that well itself is really 105 gallons. And what we use that for is to take our more sensitive baits longer distances. Now, if you'll talk to some people, they'll tell you about how much you can crowd a well. You know, the rule of thumb is, you know, 1 bait per gallon. We like to, you know, on the C1, if we can get away with it, we like to do a little less than that, maybe 3/4 of a bait per gallon. Because we want our baits to have the most freedom that they can in there, not be banging into each other, not to be fighting each other for available oxygen supply, so that they come out looking the most lively and freshest that they can.
Well, guys, I want you to know this is some pretty serious business. We put together a team this year, and last year Amanda came on board. And you know what, Joe, we have a lot to be proud of. We, you know, won over $260-something thousand, and I gotta say, I wanna congratulate you for helping us, but more importantly, for you to continue the support for the C1 fishing team.
Always for the C1 fishing team.
All right, guys. But you know what, Bree? We gotta continue the support with our captain, so take us to the next region.
Let's see, continue. Okay, next up on the list is the Southwest region with our captain, Ronnie Houston. You're up, Ronnie.
Well, like always, every week, it's a pleasure being here. Sailfish is not common in the region, so I'm going to give you 2 offshore species reports. Let's start off with the red groupers. Captain Mike Avenel reports that right now the fish are starting to move in a little bit closer. He's been catching some good-sized fish on most of his trips in the 80-foot to 100-foot range. But it's that time of the year where temps are right, and in the last week or so, the bite has been a little bit tough because the tides are light, and they should start to pick up. But he's telling me also, right now, patience and cut bait has been the key. Soft baits like squid and herring have been working great, but also chumming with squid and herring by getting them into chunks or small pieces and using those for chum has been attracting the fish in the last week due to the slower tides, but that should start to pick up. Now, you can also bounce 4 to 7 ounce bucktails, tip, or live pinfish and grubs have been working. Now, being that the fish are starting to move in, you want to move in a little bit closer into the range of anywhere from 65 to 85 feet. But he's also telling me as the current starts picking up here in the next couple days, with weather looking good for the weekend, concentrate on hard bottom as close as 35 feet to 65 feet all through the region. Like I said, the weather looks good for the weekend, so you shouldn't have any problem going out and getting a limit. I got a prime example of a fish caught in the last couple days with Captain Mike Avenone. You get in the right zone, those are the side red groupers you're going to be catching.
That's really nice. Ronnie, what else you got for me offshore?
You know, on the offshore side, too, the lane and mangrove snappers. Now, you want to concentrate right now anywhere from Fort Myers Beach to Stunt Pass. Now, let me explain something to you. You guys can get out as close as 8 miles and up to 15 miles to catch these fish. Let me give you a little key here. Those ranges right now can be real pressured. You might be a little upset by not getting out and catching some of these fish. You want to concentrate right now on wrecks and known ledges in the range of 25 to 40 feet, which is a little extra going out, which guys won't do to go out to get the snappers. Like I said, ledges are producing well. As long as you can get the fish chummed up, that's the key. Don't feed them too much once you get them located. You can also use sandballs or block chum. Live pilchers have also been working. Once they're all feeding, like I say, cut back on everything. Drop small cut baits such as squid, herring, shrimp, bucktail tips. Weight depends on where the fish are on the water column, whether you're going to flatline back, a small split shot, or weight a little heavier. Right now, like I said, with the weather looking good for the weekend, should have no problem. Get the red groupers and get you the limit of the snappers.
Ronnie, before you go inshore, I'm going to take a look at the Navionics from your region. Now, certainly an area where you're very, very familiar. Now, guys, Navionics has this great app, whether you have an iPad or an iPhone. The one thing that we are doing now is we're able to create our own routes, dock to dock or dock to destination routes. So if we take a look at the next map, what you're going to see is we actually have created a destination right here in Lossman's Bay. Now, what's great about this, looking at the next map, what you're going to happen to see is we've created a GPS waypoint from where the boat is, which is essentially here in the mouth of Lossman's River, and then we also have where the actual destination is. Now, if we take a second and we zoom in, what'll end up happening is we can create a route. That route obviously allows us to go ahead and get everywhere we need to go. Now, certainly looking at the last map, one thing that comes to mind is when I look at this route, it has some red lines in it. What that red line indicates to me is very shallow water, and you have to be careful. At this point, all I got to do is push go, and it's actually going to do everything other than steer the boat. Now, guys, April is a great time for Navionics to get a discount on any Platinum Plus cards. So make sure you go to your local retailer and find out how you can take advantage of this sale. All right, Ronnie, what else do you have for me going inshore?
Well, you know, on the inshore side, we're going to talk about the trout. You want to concentrate right now from Lossman's River to Mormon Key. Early morning, low wind coming along most edges and depths of 18 to 36 inches of water, especially if the water is lower than normal. Then as it rises, these fish are going to move with the tide, fish the grass and the potholes on the flats as the tide starts getting higher. Once you find these fish, should be no problem catching plenty of fish. Baits of choice for right now are live shrimp under a cork, or a variety of artificials like the bass assassin sea shads and root beer, molting, new penny, as well as soft plastic shrimp imitations on a jig head or noise-making cork. Should have no problem catch almost trout down here on the artificials. You don't want to go out and spend the money on the shrimp. Now, also on the inshore side, we're going to talk about the redfish. You want to concentrate right now on the northern end of the region, the West Wall, Bull and Turtle Bay. Plenty of fish are being caught. Concentrate your efforts on the low incoming tide, looking for tailing or waking fish, and being patient as these fish have been pressured. Try not to make any noise. Throw top waters a long distance, gold spoons, or even cut pinfish or ladyfish. If you see tailing or waking fish, stay in the area and be patient. As the tide rises, follow the fish forward towards the shoreline using live pilchards or conch shrimp, pilchards and ladyfish on a knocker rig cut up. And I got a special picture, even though it's a redfish report, 42-inch snook caught up on the northern end of the region. Wow, red fishing. That's a picture of West at Arcadia. And believe it or not, that guy was fishing mullet schools with a black and gray die-dapper 5-inch and landed that 42-inch snook.
Hey, Ronnie, great report, smooth as ever. Just like always, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Southwest region hotspots and see what Captain Ronnie says we should do this week. He says offshore, Spanish and king mackerels, Marco to Fort Myers Beach, 7 to 20 miles out, fishing wrecks, hard bottom with silver spoons and large baits. And then inshore, snook, Cape Coral to Punta Gorda, late night incoming fishing docks and seawalls using live shrimp, lip plugs, and soft plastic. Water movement's going to be key to catch those snook, Bree.
All right, well, in just a few minutes, Rick, our lovely audience members, and I are taking you east, back across our beautiful state of Florida to the northeast and central east regions. So sit back, relax, and drink something cold out of your Yeti. We'll see you in just a sec.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
No matter where you are in Florida, Decks and Docks Lumber Company has got you covered for decking, seawall, and dock piling. From the Keys to the Panhandle and the Nature Coast to the Space Coast, we deliver the strongest products by the hardest working folks in the business. Whether you're fixing a dock or building a marina, go with the leader. Go with Decks and Docks. Supplying Florida's boaters, homeowners, and dock builders for over 20 years.
How would you sum up this car in one word?
Swanky.
Sexy. Sexy.
Luxurious.
Classy.
Fast. Sporty.
Sharp. Innovative. Sleek luxury sedan.
Okay, that's more than one word.
This is the all-new 2016 Chevy Malibu.
That's impressive. Where's the local dealer around here?
Qualified buyers can get 0% financing for 60 months on this 2016 Chevy Malibu.
The last time we talked about power pole remote controllers, we talked about the key fob standard remote, we talked about the advanced dash switch, and the standard foot switches. Now, taking a closer look at the advanced dash switch, you need to know that it doesn't need to be mounted. It can be carried and it works anywhere on your boat. Now, the up and down button functions just like the key fob and the foot switch. Also, the speed control allows how fast the power pole anchors and deploys and retracts. The anchor selection allows control of individual power pole anchors when running duels. Speed controls and anchor selections come in very handy when using drift paddles. So the next time we get together, we're going to talk about drift paddles with your power pole and how they are the perfect deep water tool.
Okay, guys, it's time for the FaceTime with Captain Tommy Derringer, coming to you from his very own garage in the Starbright Northeast region.
Come on.
Good
I got
to
you,
see
Big Tommy. New
Almost forgot you
house,
down
new
there.
garage. I love it.
Oh yeah, man, I'm definitely loving it.
Oh, look
you
at
know what?
Yeti.
We got the Yeti gear going.
Got
you know,
it.
we have some awesome fishing happening right now here in the Strike Zone Northeast region, guys. You know, we're talking sailfish this week, and the sail fishing is just starting to get good. Now, we get a good push of sailfish coming from the south as the water warms up this time of year. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he tells me they've caught some nice sailfish in the last week or so. Now, Jason says most of his sails are caught while targeting dolphin this time of year, but he does run quite a few dedicated sailfish trips as well. And he says you really need to focus in on that color change. And if you find a good color change, he said you're most definitely going to find some sails on it. Now, there was a good change in about 500 feet last week they were on, and the sailfish were loaded up. Now, Captain Jason says you basically need to be looking on the edge of the stream, around the same places you'd be looking for the mahi this time of year. Now, he likes to pull either naked or skirted ballyhoo, and he'll also pull a dredge or two when he's really targeting the sailfish. Now, as it heats up, heading towards summer, the sailfish will push in closer near shore along the reefs and wrecks, and you can even find them in as close as a mile or two of the beach when the bait gets really thick. Now, I've actually caught one in a pokey pot right there on the beach a few years ago. Now, staying offshore, you know, I talked about dolphin a second ago. We have a stellar dolphin bite happening right now. I spoke with Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com, and he told me that on his trip yesterday, they caught over 60 dolphin, and a bunch of those fish were big ones. Now, Billy told me there was a couple really nice weed lines from about 500 to 1,200 feet, as well as some of those good color changes. Now, he also said that any floating debris they found was also loaded up with fish. And they're catching the dolphin on the usual ballyhoo with skirts and chuggers. And Billy says he expects this bite to be good for at least the next few weeks. So if you get a chance, get on it because it's good. Now, moving inshore, you know, the trout fishing is also going off right now. And there have been some really big trout caught this week in the Strike Zone Northeast region. Now, we have a full moon this week, and those big trout are going to be spawning. Now, we've been catching some nice ones on both live bait and plugs in St. Augustine early in the morning on the high tide, fishing on top of shell bars and along grass lines with a topwater skitter walk, and live shrimp under a popping cork. Now, I also spoke with Captain Tony Bozzella from TonyBozzella.com, and he says he's been catching some big trout as well up in Jacksonville this week with a couple of his fish over 7 pounds. Now, he says he likes the low light best, and with the cool, clean incoming water this weekend, it should be just right to get out there real early in the morning. Now, Tony is fishing in the St. Johns River. He's looking for structures like grass points, docks, jetties, and ledges, all with moving water. And he says you really don't want it to be ripping too hard, so look for more of a subtle incoming current. Now, Captain Tony is matching the hatch, which is mullet and pogies right now, by using lip plugs and topwaters. And he also says a float rig or a jig and a shrimp is going to work well. Now, I got a photo here. This is my longtime client and buddy, Nathan Craig, with just one of many big trout he caught with me earlier this week in St. Augustine. Now,
go ahead, buddy.
Moving on to the redfish, you know, the redfish bite continues to be strong this week as we're going to have some really low tides in the afternoons, and it's got the fish bunched up. Now, my clients have been catching quite a few mid to upper slot reds in the south end of the region, fishing the edges of the flats from the 312 bridge all the way to Bing's Landing. A live shrimp, blue crab, and mullet, both cut and live, fished on the bottom, have all been working really well. You want to look for the areas on those flats that are the last to drain on that low tide, and that's where you're going to find the redfish. I also spoke to Captain Leon Dana from PalmValleyCharters.com, and he tells me the redfish bite in Palm Valley is also good. Now, he's also fishing that afternoon low tide and said the redfish have been stacking up on the banks of the ICW from the Palm Valley Bridge down to Pine Island. Now, Captain Leon says once the tides turn and is coming in, he's going to move back in the creeks and he's going to fish on top of and around those oyster mounds. He says a live finger mullet in the creeks has been deadly on those redfish. I got a picture here. This is Captain Leon Dana and his 7-year-old client, Casey Riley, with a big old redfish they caught right there in Palm Valley.
You know, Tommy, you're doing a great job with this FaceTime stuff. How you like doing that, Bob?
It's cool, man. I'm digging it. I like seeing you guys.
I love seeing you too, man. Great report tonight. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Northeast region hotspots. We'll talk to you again next week. Captain Tommy says inshore, trout early in the morning on the incoming tide, top water on live shrimp under a cork, fish around the docks, the grass points, jetties, and the ledges in St. John's, and then offshore dolphin from 500 to 1,200 feet of water. Look for the weed lines and color changes and get on it and get that bite while it's going off.
Going off. All right, y'all, Captain Jim Ross is patiently waiting to kick some Cafifer weekend report, but coming to you from the Central East region. Hey, Jim.
Hey, gang, I tell you what, our sailfish action has been pretty decent so far this year, and we've got some more fish that are moving into the area as we speak. They're moving in with the dolphin here in the Central East region. Most of the anglers that are targeting them specifically are pulling naked or chin-weighted naked ballyhoo at 3 to 4 knots. And I tell you what, these fish are really acrobatic when you hook them up. Most of our fish this week have been in the 180 to 400 foot depths, so look for them. You can even see them free jumping, especially right on the western edge of the Gulf Stream. The boaters that are slow trolling live baits on the 90-foot reefs are also finding them every once in a while, but as we get into May and June, we're going to have more sailfish moving inshore at that time because our water gets a little cleaner inshore at that time of the year. Most of the time, they're coming up and whacking the baits with their bills. So circle hooks really work good when you're rigging those ballyhoo up if you're specifically targeting them. And I tell you what, most of our fish are running 30 to 45 pounds in this part of the state, and some days you can get 4 and 5 fish up in the spread. So it's been pretty decent lately. Now, speaking of pretty decent lately, our dolphin bite has been off the chain the last couple of weeks. And I tell you what, 1 or 2 days it's really super hot. The next day it slows down a little bit. But what you have to do is you have to follow that water contour, that temperature contour, as it's moving northward along that western edge of the Gulf Stream. When you find that, you're going to find good concentrations of fish. When you find a really strong temperature break. 160 to 500 foot depths are where most of the guys are catching them right now. And most of our fish are running 10 to 20 pounds. And I tell you what, double-digit and triple-digit, well, not double-digit, but double-digit numbers up into the 30s and 40 numbers of fish are really, really happening right now for the guys in my region that are out there trolling for those dolphins. Now, swinging inshore, our speckled trout bite has been excellent this week. We've got incoming tides in the morning, and it's putting clean water on the flat. Captain Richard Bradley at LagoonerFishing.com has been coming up and fishing the Vero, Wabasso, and Sebastian areas, and he has been getting some really nice trout in the 20 to 25 inch class. He's using mullet and croakers whenever he can get them, and he's also throwing die dappers and catching some of those bigger fish on die dappers right now. He says concentrate on the bars that have at least 3 to 4 feet next to them and water flowing over them. And he says for the larger trout, they seem to be hitting the croakers best. So if you want those bigger fish, get those live croakers. Now, Captain John Lulay at CatchBigReds.com has been targeting trout in the Mosquito Lagoon with his anglers this week. And John's putting his clients on some great fish in the 15 to 25 pound range as well. Captain John also says that he's been targeting some of them with those soft plastic baits that we talked about, and he's rigging them weedless on a worm hook. And he says that white or albino is working really good. I've also found that the Cajun croaker color seems to be working really good when you're fishing around those mullet schools up in that area. John wants you to target those fish in 12 to 24 inches of water, and he says anytime that you can get in a back part of a bay that has clean water and sandy potholes, look for those big trout to be laying in there. Now, he's got a picture here that he sent me with Chaz and Eva Pike, and they fished with him this week, and Eva got this nice trout on a white jerkbait, so it just goes to show you that anybody can do it at this time of the year. Now, last but not least, we've got redfish, and of course, our Mosquito Lagoon action has been really strong. You want to find the mullet or minnows, or especially the shrimp this week. When you find shrimp jumping on the flats, that's where you're going to find a lot of slot-sized redfish. Also, other than live shrimp, the assassin soft plastic shrimp in the drunk monkey and the mudbug colors has been working really well for me this week. And then in the middle of the day, switch over to some lighter colors like the bone diamond 4-inch sea shad, and you'll be doing really well on those redfish. Now, one thing that I want you guys and gals to know that CCA Star Tournament is going on statewide. And if you guys and gals haven't gotten signed up for you, here's why you need to get signed up. They're putting over 150 redfish in our waters statewide. That's an average of 4 fish per coastal county. That makes the redfish in the Star CCA tournament the star attraction, if you get what I'm saying. And this tournament's being put on by Yamaha, so, you know, it's got some strong backing behind it. And what's really cool about that is it starts on May 28th, and it ends on Labor Day, but you get 101 days of fishing, and you can even win a Yamaha motor if you're a guide that's entered in the Star CCA tournament. Now, we just put out a bunch of fish this week on the East Coast. So if you guys and gals haven't gotten out there and registered for the Star CCA tournament, you need to make sure that you get registered immediately. Even though the tournament doesn't start until May 28th, you can still win a prize pack worth almost $1,000 if you catch one of these fish before the actual tournament starts. So go to www.ccaflstar.com to get registered for the CCA Florida Star Tournament. Now, I've got a photo here with Dan Askins and Bill Gorski and myself releasing the very first redfish on the East Coast the other day, and we put quite a few out in the Volusia and Brevard County areas. That was this Tuesday. So even though, like I said, it doesn't start until May 28th, you still need to get signed up immediately because that's a gigantic $1,000 prize pack that you can win.
All right, great report, Jim. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says offshore yellowfin tunas at 120-mile buoy troll lures cedar plugs for fish up to 75 pounds. And then inshore redfish in the Mosquito Lagoon cast live shrimp or assassin 4-inch shrimp at tailing fish.
Beach ball me, Aiden. Yeah.
All right.
Oof. With one region left to go, the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report taking you to the Northwest region, along with an important Coastal Conservation Minute tip you won't want to miss, an observation of Earth Day. So sit tight. We'll be right back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
Inside you, there's an outside you. A you that finds your dinner by finding your dinner's dinner. A you that isn't afraid to pick a fight with something that has a sword for a nose. This is for that you.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Welcome. We have 3 Chevys here. All right. I want you to place this award on the podium next to the vehicle that you think was ranked highest in initial quality by J.D. Power.
Can I look around at them? Is that
highest ranking in initial quality?
It's gotta be this one.
This is it.
You are wrong.
Really?
Actually, it's all 3.
You tricked me.
J.D. Power ranked the Chevy Malibu, Silverado Half-Ton, and Equinox highest in initial quality in their segments.
That's impressive.
I'm very surprised.
I'm very surprised. Chevy hit 3 home runs.
Today's Coastal Conservation Minute is about beach cleanup. Now, I've got my 5-gallon bucket here, and one of the things that I'm learning is all the different sizes of plastics that are washing up on our beaches. But more importantly, it also allows me to figure out how it's being broke down. A lot of these small pieces, birds and mammals and fish eat. And 2/3 of all the fish that have been tested have tested positive for plastic. So unfortunately, we've got to do something about it. So go get yourself a 5-gallon bucket and participate in your own beach cleanup program. And that's today's Costa Conservation Minute.
Love those beach cleanups, man. Those are important. All right, I know Captain Jeff Hageman.
You see, I was out of breath.
Yeah, you were. That was hard picking up those trash bottles, weren't they? Yeah.
More me, I can't.
All right. Jeff Hageman always does his part to hashtag kick plastic and keep his water clean. So let's hear from the man with the plan himself from the Northwest Yeti region.
Sailfish, we've got them. We're not really known for our sailfishing in our region, but we do have them, and it's actually getting better and better every year. Most of the time we're catching them as bycatch when the guys are out there kingfishing and trolling around kingfishing. But August, September, it seems like when I'm running off to go tuna fishing, blackfin tuna, and getting out there, I'm seeing more and more of them, getting quite a few shots at them. Same stuff works throughout everybody's region that you can hear about tonight. But on our region, we get those afternoons that are really flat. In August, you can get out there, their sails are popped up, throw the trolling motor over if you're in a bay boat, ease up to them, and you pitch a bait right to them, and they eat pretty readily. Our fish are a little smaller on our coast than they are on their coast, but we do have them. But what we do got right now is a lot of blackfin tuna and kingfish. Captain Harry Connor of Hookem Harry Charters out of St. Pete reports a good blackfin tuna bite right now, and kingfish, 80-foot of water range. He's fishing on live bottom right now with good relief. He's fishing just outside of it on the sand. Live sardines, 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders. When the kingfish start getting in there, you might want to add a little bit of wire to it or a longer shank hook to keep getting bitten off. He's also chunking up cut bait to keep the sharks off of them, throwing the cut bait back and letting that drip back, throwing some live bait out there also to keep the kingfish and the tuna all piled up behind the back of the boat. Moving inshore right now, snook, Captain Jamie Goodwin of GoFloridaFishing.com reports snook bite in and around Tampa Bay seems to be on fire right now. Our closure has really seen, we had that hard freeze a little while ago, a few years back, and we closed it down, and our population's really on the comeback. Right now, you want to fish in those deeper mangrove shorelines, potholes, any kind of good moving water, good tidal flow. The outgoing tide seems to have been the best, but incoming water will work too. I got a photo of a nice Tampa Bay snook caught with me this week.
Whoa, that's a stud there, bub. Man.
That one was right at 19 pounds. That was a good one.
Yeah, good job. All right, what else you have for me inshore?
Moving up the coast a little bit, Mario Castella out of Crystal River reports a good triple tail bite right now. He's saying it's staying pretty consistent. We've got a lot of wind and have a lot of wind all year so far. So he's still seeing them around the crab trap buoys in that 15 to 25 foot mark. They're always going to be facing right behind the buoy, facing the current. They're going to look like a piece of pumped up weed, he said, right behind the rope. Live shrimp, always great bait to throw at them, either free line or on a float when they're one on hook. Also, triple tail, love that. I mean, the DOA shrimp is also a great bait for triple tail in that clear color. And I got a photo here of a nice triple tail being caught with Mario Castello. Most of the fish right now are averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds behind those crab traps.
Okay, Hag, I got a question, a couple probably, but anyways, listen, you guys all on the West Coast are jonesing to get your tarpon season underway. We've had a little hiccup because we've had some late cold fronts, cooled your water temperatures down. What's the temperature that you think it takes for those fish to come from offshore inshore?
I like that 75 to really get them to start feeding. I was in Boca Grande last week. They were there. They were eating good. There are some fish in Tampa Bay right now. They're starting to show up. I saw a few on the flats today. That water temperature has to be 75 or higher to really get them fired off. And the hotter it gets, the hotter they're going to get. Once they hit that 79 degree, 80 degree water temp, they're going to be eating. And they're going to be eating like crazy because they've been coming around the coast and migrating.
Clear this up for me. So you need it to start in the morning at 75 and grow from there to have it start to become epic. Yes or no?
Correct.
All right, thank you so much. Great report from the Yeti Northwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots. Captain Jeff says, inshore, redfish on the top of the tide use cut pinfish or ladyfish for bait, and then offshore, grunts and sea bass on the flat rocks off of Tarpon Springs in 30 to 45 feet of water. Squid on a chicken rig for the bait.
Well, guys.
You know anything about a chicken rig?
I don't know. It's chicken rig. Chicken rig. That's how you're supposed to say it.
Chicken leg.
Chicken rig. It's a chicken rig. All right, we hope you've enjoyed this day of sail fishing around the state with us, but we're not quite done talking, so don't reel up just yet. When we return on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're telling you what we'll be checking out next week. Stay tuned.
Thanks for coming today. I want each of you to grab a 2x8 and cut it. You'll have 2 saws to choose from. You all chose the best tool for the job. Wouldn't it make sense to make the same choice when it comes to your truck?
Absolutely.
This is the 2016 Chevy Silverado.
Nice.
A good-looking pickup. Incredible. I love it.
Find your tag and get a total value of $9,000 on this Silverado Double Cab All-Star. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
The Yamaha V8 outboard is in a class by itself. Right now, for a limited time, you can match that pure V8 power and performance with an amazing warranty protection offer during the great V8 sales event. Purchase a new eligible Yamaha V8 350 and Yamaha will double the time period of your warranty. That's 6 full years of ultimate Yamaha warranty protection at no charge. Don't wait. Get in on the great V8 sales event at your Yamaha dealer now.
Uncompromising. Like the fishermen who swear by it.
Thanks Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, it's ladies' night. Whoa, the ladies are all out showing up. How exciting. Right,
yeah,
Rick?
we're gonna have
You're gonna have a bunch of ladies in the house.
Ladies. That's gonna like make me crazy.
It's gonna make it you crazy.
Crazy. But you know what, Bree?
Whoa, look how many people we've got here.
Look at all the mans you got beside you.
Got my man.
All right, so let
me.
woman.
That's right. That's my one and only woman.
So we got Q drives the C1 boat. Froggy's in charge of the cockpit. Billy is our mate on one side. Froggy on the other side. Ivan is the man. You know why? Because between tournaments, he's our NASCAR guy that takes the boat back to the factory and gets everything fixed that we end up tearing up. And boy, I'm gonna tell you, we can tear some stuff up.
And he's magic on a flatline.
He is magic, and he is our flatline expert. We're talking the patience of a saint. Slow, wait, and then all of a sudden, Ion!
Ion!
That's how he announces it. Thank you so much, guys, for being here.
Bye, guys. See you next week.